UK Premier Winde is now giving his reaction to the decision by the energy regulator NERSA to give its concurrence to a series of new electricity generation plans by the Ministry of Energy. It means Eskom will be allowed to buy more power from independent power producers. As you know, Eskom is still critically short of electricity. There's also a conversation around whether, as a country, we should now move to level 1 of the lockdown regulations. Well, Winde is with us now. Mr. Premier, good afternoon to you. Let's start with the lockdown regulations. Do you believe it's time to move to level 1?
Yes, I'd actually like to even move beyond level 1. We do need to open our borders. We do need to remove the curfew. We do need to get as many jobs back as quickly as possible. But of course we need to have it in a safe way, and I think we all know what to do now. So we need to pass that responsibility from government over to our businesses and our citizens.
Seen some medical evidence from your province, in fact, that a larger percentage of people have had the virus than previously thought. In some communities, 40% of people have had the virus, but very few have had the virus seriously. In other words, they haven't had the symptoms, they haven't had to go to hospital. There's a lot about this virus we actually don't know yet.
Correct. So we started at the end of July with our serology testing for antibodies. We did it where we took testing out of coming pregnancy tests as well as updates on HIV bloods that were taken, and then we just ran the prevalence and of course we could see it in certain communities that we got up to, as you said, 40%. So the epidemiologists reckon that we could have around about a 25% antibody build-up across the citizens of our province, and that's really good news. It means that every time we start growing in antibodies, or the number of people who've had the cases, it means that we're starting to build up resistance to the virus itself.
Okay, let's just talk about Eskom and electricity for a moment. The Energy Ministry and NERSA, they appear to be getting to move on this. They're allowing more, they appear to be moving towards allowing more generation from independent power producers. Is this going to be enough to stop load shedding?
Yeah, I think, we know that it's going to take a long time to get enough energy into the system to really keep Eskom, in a position where they could provide sufficient power. So we're talking about years worth of load shedding. And what this does for us is allows the independent power producers to take up that gap, and we need to make it happen as quickly as possible. So we need the regulations written as soon as possible so that independent power producers can put into the grids in municipalities. And we're ready. 22 of our municipalities are already ready with buy-in tariffs. I think it is going to be the big game changer if we can just get those regulations in place as quickly as possible, and really multiple investment. And I think if you open those doors, the investors will come.
All right, you think the investors will come. Are those doors going to be opened? Are they going to be opened quickly enough?
Well, that's the regulation that we need in place. So it's all very well to say, yes, we're accepting that we will now allow for it. But what we need is high speed with the regulations. We showed that during COVID-19 we can bring regulations out very quickly in our country. So let's show that we do the same energy with the regulations that are needed for energy. Let's bring them out in days rather than in months.
Do you have faith that the Minister, Winde, is going to do that?
Well, I think what we're going to be doing is putting the pressure on him. And I also think that, I think the government realizes that we're in deep, deep trouble in our country, and we have lost so many jobs because of fighting this pandemic, and we need to claw back, and we are not going to get investors to come if we can't get energy. And so it's the first thing that we need to allow investors to put private sector energy into the system. That will give the reprieve that Eskom needs, and it will also give us the competitiveness that we need for energy pricing going forward.
Obviously, we all need more electricity. You reckon that your province is ready to take more from independent power producers. Is there really going to be a situation that if we did that, if we raised the limit from 1 megawatt to 10 megawatts for independent power production, it would make that much of a big difference?
Well, we can already see in Cape Town where we've got 135, 140 megawatts through solar embedded energy already. We also have the Steenbos Dam. And just because of those investments in the last few years, we can avert a whole stage of load shedding. So when the country's on load shedding Schedule 1, no one knows about it in Cape Town. And when it's on level 2, we're only on level 1. So definitely any investment starts to make a difference. And if you open that availability across municipalities, you're going to see it taken up very quickly. So I've got no doubt that it will start to minimize the risk of load shedding. And also, as I said, it's going to create a much more competitive environment going forward in the longer term on energy pricing. We see how much money that Eskom keeps on needing to keep the lights on. And as soon as you put some competition in with independent power producers, you will start to see the pricing become much competitive.
Mr. Premier, it's been about 6 months since I last interviewed someone while they were at an airport. Are you at OR Tambo on your way home or at your Cape Town International?
I'm actually sitting in the airport in Port Elizabeth. I'm flying back to Cape Town now. I was just at a meeting on safety this morning.
All right, Alan Winde, thank you very much indeed. The Premier of the Western Cape there, as I say, a very long time since I last spoke to someone who was actually at an airport.